Hey guys, welcome back to my channel where I talk about the NWSL, women's soccer, just soccer, only soccer. There were so many big stories in women's soccer that came out this week, the biggest being former Chicago Red Stars coach Rory Dames allegedly abusing youth players and grooming a girl starting from when she was just 14. I did go into more detail about this story in my previous video, and I'll leave a link to that video and the articles by Molly Hensley Clancy in the description below. Before getting into the main story, Michele Kang, who had been fighting for months to gain ownership of the Washington Spirit, is now the controlling owner of the Spirit. Steve Baldwin and Bill Lynch both decided to sell the team to Kang. Kang is currently working with investors in a new ownership group. According to the Spirit, the vision for the team is premier, professional, and proudly DC, with a locally based female-led ownership group that is committed to substantial new investments into the team's staff, operations, and infrastructure. So it sounds like there's going to be some big changes with the Washington Spirit, hopefully for the better. So congrats to Michele Kang, the Spirit team, and Spirit fans, and best of luck to all of you moving forward into this 2022 NWSL season. It's going to be interesting to see where Kang takes this team and what she's going to do now that she's the controlling owner. Now onto the main story. After the Washington Post article about Rory Dames abusing youth players was released this past Tuesday, people were rightfully angry and upset. In response to the Washington Post article, US Women's National Team players sent out a letter calling out the United States Soccer Federation and US Soccer for their failure to protect both current and youth players. The letter was directed to US Soccer President Cindy Parlow-Cone and the former US Soccer President Carlos Cordero, who is currently looking to run against Parlow-Cone for the position of US Soccer President. The letter was signed by Christen Press, Crystal Dunn, Tobin Heath, Carly Lloyd, Samantha Mewis, Alex Morgan, Kelly O'Hara, Megan Rapinoe, and Becky Sauerbrunn. I got the letter from Megan Linehan off of Twitter, and it reads, Ms. Parlow-Cone and Mr. Cordero. The allegations documented in the Washington Post on Tuesday of systematic, egregious, and horrifying abuse of young girls by their soccer coaches are sickening. But what is worse is that this is yet another instance where the willful inaction of USSF's leadership jeopardized the health and safety of its players. Over the years, while we played on the U.S. Women's National Team and in the National Women's Soccer League, many of us reported to USSF instances where, as adults, we experienced abusive conduct by our coaches. Now we have learned that this abusive treatment also was repeatedly reported by minors, and that USSF failed to respond to protect these young players. That is utterly disheartening. Last year, many of our colleagues courageously spoke out about the verbal, emotional, and physical abuse they suffered during their time in the NWSL. Their bravery sparked an important reckoning and reflection in our sport, both here and abroad. But these players never should have had to turn to the press to protect themselves and future generations. USSF had the obligation to protect its players, yet it stood by as abuse continued to occur unchecked. For starters, USSF should have immediately removed coaching licenses from abusers. Instead, USSF allowed those individuals to coach while saying it would investigate. USSF failed to do the bare minimum to keep us and the young girls who play in the youth league safe. Ms. Parlow-Cone, in October 2021, more than 4 months ago, you committed to 1. Vigorously investigate the reported conduct, 2. Gain a full and frank understanding of the factors that allowed it to happen, 3. Share the results of this work, and 4. Take meaningful steps to prevent this abhorrent behavior from happening again. We are writing to you today on behalf of thousands of little girls across our country who play in the youth leagues to demand full transparency and accountability in addressing these systematic problems. Where are the results of the investigation that you are spending USSF time and resources conducting? Has the investigation being conducted by Ms. Yates yielded any of this information that players are forced to report to media because you have not released the information or taken any action related to it? Do players experience fear of continued reprisals and retribution from USSF? Most importantly, what steps will you take to make sure that every girl and woman can play soccer safely in the USSF and the NWSL? In both of your campaign platforms to be re-elected as presidents of USSF, you discuss the need to look forward, not back. But without true accountability for the past, there is no promising future. For years, you allowed coaches and owners to rampantly abuse players. This unchecked and unpunished power endangered the safety, well-being, and careers of far too many women and girls. We suffered so that you could protect your bottom line. To rebuild the trust of players, fans, and sponsors to move forward, USSF must show that it is serious about change. We demand that USSF release the full findings of its investigation in a timely manner and commit to enacting meaningful institutional reforms to protect players. We will not stop fighting until we can ensure that this sport is safe for ourselves, for our daughters, and for every little girl who cheers us on and dreams of one day playing the sport we all love. We hope your immediate actions will demonstrate that you both share this goal. Sincerely, Christen Press, Crystal Dunn, Tobin Heath, Carly Lloyd, Samantha Mewis, Alex Morgan, Kelly O'Hara, Megan Rapino, Becky Sauerbrunn. So the letter is pretty straightforward and to the point. There's a lot of interesting points made by the players. A line that stuck out to me is these players never should have had to turn to the press to protect themselves and future generations. I said that so much last year. Like, why does it take players going to the press, to the media, to get a reaction from US Soccer or the NWSL, to get them to do something? It shouldn't have to be that way. Players shouldn't have to step into the public eye to relive their trauma because something wasn't done to protect players from their abusers in the first place. Why didn't abusive coaches get their license taken away? When it came to Rory Dames, Christen Press reported him twice for being emotionally and verbally abusive, and nothing was done. According to another article by Molly Hensley Clancy, US Soccer in 2018, which was led by Carlos Cordero at the time, did do an investigation into Rory Dames, but took no action against him and allowed Dames to coach 3 more seasons before he resigned. Cordero on Wednesday, February 9th, would also go on to deny knowing about Christen Press's allegations while he was president. Honestly, that looks bad either way. If he really didn't know and was ignorant the whole time, what else did he not know about? Why did no one think to make him aware of it? And if by chance Cordero is lying and he did know and was made aware of it in the past, then he did absolutely nothing to stop it. This really powerful line from the player's letter says it all. For years, you, in reference to Cordero and Parlo Cone, allowed coaches and owners to rampantly abuse players. This unchecked and unpunished power endangered the safety, well-being, and careers of far too many women and girls. We suffered so that you can protect your bottom line. It's sad and disgusting because these players, some of them young children, are going to continue to suffer if nothing is done. Players will continue to suffer when the abuser is chosen and protected rather than the victim/victims. How many times did we all see that last year? Today, February 10th, Cindy Parlo Cone did release a letter in response to the letter from the players. You can find it on the US Soccer website. I'll leave a link to it in the description below. The letter reads, I absolutely share your concern about the allegations of unconscionable abusive behavior and sexual misconduct in both the professional league and at the youth level. The Washington Post article was the first that US Soccer learned of the latest allegations concerning sexual abuse by Rory Dames. As I said to many of you personally, I am incredibly angered and saddened by the multiple reports that have come out about these horrific situations too many girls and women have had to endure within our sports. As the president of US Soccer, ensuring that soccer players at all levels in this country can participate in soccer in a safe environment is of the utmost importance for me personally and for the Federation. To ensure that future, we hired former U.S. Attorney and Deputy Attorney General of the United States, Sally Yates, to lead an independent investigation into these allegations. I want to reiterate that she and her team have been given full autonomy and access to all the necessary resources they need to follow the facts and evidence wherever they lead. Once again, we are committed to full transparency and will make the findings public. This incredibly important work by Ms. Yates and her team is ongoing, and like you, we eagerly await the results of the investigation. As we've said in the past, Ms. Yates has committed to sharing any findings that U.S. Soccer should take immediate action on. Again, we will share absolutely everything. We also understand to be of value, such an investigation will take time and is highly dependent on participation and cooperation of many parties within soccer. We encourage anyone who has any information relevant to these issues to speak directly with Ms. Yates and her team so that she can complete her investigation in a timely manner. That's the best path to ensure she has a complete picture of the facts, and then we can make the changes that are needed to make the sport safe for our entire soccer community, especially the youngest players. We are incredibly thankful to all players who have spoken up during the past few months. Your voices have been immeasurable in shining a light on these horrific scenarios that pushed all of us forward in ensuring change comes quickly. I know I speak for everyone at US Soccer when I say we are eager to learn from the investigation any systemic issues that exist in the sport, including at the Federation, so we can continue the process of making the necessary changes to protect all players and prevent anything like this from happening again. We are ready and willing to lead all of us forward and use this as an opportunity to set things right and rebuild the trust of the entire soccer community. We are confident by approaching this process with a true desire for meaningful change, we can rebuild the culture within our sport. One where everyone is safe, welcomed, and supported. So there's a lot that can be discussed when it comes to Parlo Cones' letter. I'm just glad the results of Sally Yates' investigation are going to be made public when they're available. But we are going to have to wait because this investigation is still ongoing and it's a very big investigation. Hopefully with the results of said investigation, work can be done to remove and punish those who were abusing players or those who allowed the abuse to continue and did nothing to stop it. When we hear about abusive coaches like Richie Burke, Paul Riley, and Rory Dames, and those who protected these men, it's clear that more needs to be done in order to protect NWSL players and youth players moving forward. These men, like most abusers, went unpunished, while their victims were left to deal with emotional, physical, and mental scars left on them by these men. Now more than ever, US Soccer, USSF, and the NWSL needs to take this seriously and work to protect all players, especially youth players. That being said, that is all I have for you guys today or tonight, and I'll see you all in the next one. Later.